I call this meeting to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. All right. Record of council attendance.
Councilmember Wendo will be arriving late. All other members are present, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Approve the agenda. Entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Please call the roll.
Avery,
Aye.
Collins,
Aye.
Duran,
Aye.
Niemeyer,
Aye.
Specker,
Aye.
Tilton Burton.
Aye.
Okay, 5:15 study session. We're going to continue on with our number 3 presentation of the budget workshop. Paul Brasino, our city manager, and Eric Rangel, our CFO, will be part of the presentation.
Thank you, Mayor. I believe Eric and Jake said that I get to take it going forward since I'm in the department heads. And as I mentioned, over the past 6 months, staff has developed the proposed 2023 budget that's before you tonight. In September, both operational and capital budgets were presented to City Council and the public. Jake, Eric, Ashley, all the department heads and staff have worked very diligently to present the $61.5 million balanced budget before you today. The draft 2023 budget and brief is also included in the packet. Wanted to make sure the public was aware of that. The budget and brief basically boils down hundreds and hundreds of pages of the budget down to 2 pages, which is something that it's very easy for people to understand, but if they want to take a deeper dive, all that information that's related to that budget is noted in your budget session number 3, which is tonight, was created to allow council an opportunity to hear from outside agencies and their requests. October 18th, which is next Tuesday, we'll hear for City Council tonight, which includes the Brookings Economic Development Corporation as well as the Research Park. We'll also present the scholarship program as requested by City Council next week as well. The proposed 2023 budget is contains approximately $2,657,265 for outside agencies, which is recommended from staff. The amount is broken down to 2 basic areas: $2.1 million for economic development and $523,480,000 for social service or city-related agency funding. You can see the breakout here before you, before the screen tonight. Staff request and council, and be prepared to answer any questions the council might have. Any increase in funding for special agencies, for outside agencies, will require a decrease from some other area within the budget because the budget before you is a balanced budget. Tonight, the various agencies that will be here to present include the Chamber, Visit Brookings, Student Visitors Promotions, Art Council, Community Band, which I will note was a late submission, and the Dakota Community Market. United Way will have further discussions here in the next few meetings to come as we bring that forward for prioritization as well. And so those agencies are here to present. And before you, just take a few minutes to go through this. This is the chart that was included in the budget presented to you here a few weeks ago. If you look to the right-hand side, the 2023 recommendation is the recommendation from city staff to create a balanced budget. The request was the column right beside it, and you'll see that there was some agencies that requested a higher amount, some that requested that weren't funded. One such one is the Dakota Community Market. And the reason for that, the reason why staff recommended not approving it is mainly because they're just kicking off their campaign. Council has in the past funded certain projects, but is more towards the end of the campaign when that had occurred. So staff made the recommendation not to fund that one this year. Within the social service agencies, the predominant ones there are the school agency funding, which the school will be here next week as well to provide any information to council on that request, which is $195,000. The remaining is social service outside agency funding, which goes to the United Way process. That was increased roughly $12,000 for next year as a recommendation from staff. So once again, in total, it's $2,657,265 that's recommended from city staff for the 2023 budget. With that, I'd be happy to turn over to the council for any questions or to go ahead and hear from the outside agencies. As I mentioned, the chamber is the first on the list for tonight.
Any questions from council right now? Okay, we can start with the presentations then.
Might be why that's good to go. So I don't have anything prepared to give you all. I have my application in. If you guys have any questions on that, feel free to reach out. What I want to share today is just thank you for your partnership and kind of an explanation at a high level of what we have. I believe we have 3 minutes. Is that correct? Okay. We are very appreciative of the partnership with the City of Brookings. Your staff have some of the best customer service I've ever experienced. Bonnie, Eric, Jake, Paul, they're always just go-to and so helpful. So great job there. We have a request for 2023 in the amount of $85,000. That's about 13% of our annual budget. 30,000 of that goes towards general membership is how I would explain that. So you guys serve as a presidential level member for the chamber. In return, you get right around $8,000 in hard costs back. So events, event tickets, leadership bookings, things like that. And then the rest of that makes it possible to do things like our forums, our candidate forums, the new resident welcome program that we're developing for 2023, and just kind of acting as that connector in the community. We help people save a lot of time by knowing exactly where to go. We always say we don't have all the answers, but we typically know exactly who would have those answers. And so that's really where we see ourselves, is a connector. $25,000 of that goes to Downtown at Sundown. So as you guys know, that's been a phenomenal success. We decreased that amount we're asking for because we've seen such an increase in the private investment. And we're able to roll over any profit to make that next year better. So we would love to have that be a self-sustaining event at some point. If any council members want to volunteer to help make next year even better, we'd love that. Our goal is 25,000 people in downtown next year, up from our 18,000 we had this year. We have $30,000 that go towards our downtown efforts. And so that currently, all of that money is going towards project-focused efforts. So Councilwoman Tilton Burns sits on that committee and hopefully is recapping those with you. But we have 5 main priorities. A couple of those I'll talk about. One of them is wayfinding. So one thing that our visitors, that we're hearing from business owners, that our visitors are saying there's not a lot of parking in downtown. Well, we all know that that's not true. There's a lot of parking in downtown. What we found was there's actually not a lot of signage guiding people where they can park and what parking lots are open for public parking. And so we're investing some of those dollars into signage to help people find those, make it a little more walkable, a little more easy to get through. Another priority is events. So the Fall Festival happened this past month. I heard from several business owners that it was better than their Black Friday sale last year. So a day of sales like that comes right back into the city's pockets. So at the end of the day, our job is to promote, advocate, and connect our business community to enrich the community of Brookings as a whole. So I will stand for any questions if you've got any.
Thanks, Kelsey. So this, and it's just, we have like proposals and a set way for doing those proposals. And then the city, and I'm saying this not to you as much as the public, the city develops an agreement and those have bullet items. And then in the progress report that the city asks for at the end of each year, those bullets should be addressed. And I think the chamber did an excellent job on addressing those different bullets, which it was great, actually. But the one question I just have, looking at some of the bullets is, and listening to what you're saying, like a lot of those things aren't included as bullets. So, say the 30,000 that goes to the chamber, right now, I think the bullets are, you probably even can say it off the top of your head,
Yeah, they're probably things like membership and engagement and things like that. So what we see as if we're providing value, we're going to get that private investment back. And so that's kind of measuring the metrics. It's really hard to put that qualitative into the quantitative. And so membership retention, how many members renew every year, how many new members we have, those are some of our bigger metrics that are a lot easier to measure. And typically we can look back on the year and what qualitative data drove that.
Yeah. So maybe in future applications, you can think about, because they tend to be the same from year to year.
Yeah, I like to try and compare year over year. It's easier to see success.
I mean,
and
the
trends.
years change, so what you're doing this year might not necessarily be what you want to do next year. So as just a recommendation, maybe think about what else, the chamber can do with this money that, like in Sundown, if they're driving these profits, you're getting profits on that. So is there something else that you could do to increase
Absolutely.
what you're doing, I guess,
Thank you.
for the same amount of money?
That's the kicker.
Okay.
You also mentioned that the Sundown program, that you actually are asking for less money, but didn't you ask for the same amount last year?
No, we asked for 27.5 last year, and we're asking for 25 for 2023.
Okay.
Any other questions? Thank you, Kelsey. Next one's Visit Brookings, right?
So will I run it, or will you guys run it? Okay, all right, just making sure. Thank you so much for giving us the opportunity. As you see by the information that you get, we are a large recipient of the outside agency funding, and I welcome the opportunity to visit with you and explain just a little bit more about what we as an entity do and how we benefit the community. So this is a healthy process, and we look forward to questions that might come up after the presentation.
Laura,
How do-
just use the arrow keys on the keyboard.
Oh. Do you have the presentation that I sent to you?
The one loaded is the one that we received. Was there a different one that we should have been?
Yep,
Aware of?
this one looks like this.
Have not seen that one.
Okay, well, you can just take this one down then, because I don't want to confuse people. Very different, and I'm not quite sure how the other one got there. Might have been an old file. But I'm going to start with our mission statement. Our mission statement reads, as destination experts, we proudly share the Brookings story, strengthen the economy, and elevate the community experience for all. And we do that by, there's three major buckets, and I'll send this out to you after the meeting. But basically, we market Brookings. That takes care of the part about sharing the Brookings story. We recruit and support events, which goes into the strengthening the economy, and we develop the industry through and elevate that community experience for all. So those are the three main buckets that we work in. One thing I want to make sure that we note is that our efforts, I mean, we are solely here to bring in new money to the community in terms of sales, tax revenues. So when you're looking at what we do get a lot of money, but we see that as an investment to bring even more people into the community. Gosh, I wish this would have been the one that we did, but you can see this little arrow circle here. My point here in showing you this was that through our strategic planning process, which we completed last year, we are fully aligned throughout our organization, from our budget request to our strategic plan, to our plan of work, to our annual report that we give back, and then the process starts all over again. So our strategic plan will set forth what our board has said, these are the priorities. From that, we put together a plan of work which addresses those 3 points: marketing, recruiting and supporting events, and building the community. And those are assigned to staff. And then every year we work on that plan. In the fall, usually around November, December, we get together as a staff. We review where we're at, set goals and priorities for the next year, and then we report back on the previous year at the end of the year. And then we actually do 2 reports. You'll see both of those in the information that we hand out. But everything that we pull is tied back into our budget, tied back into our city, tied back into the responses that you all get. So we are fully integrated. We also take a look at some of those other key performance indicators that help us know, are we on the right track? We don't have anything that says, yes, you're doing that, no, you're doing that wrong. But we take a look at trends. For example, we can look at visitor guide requests. If they're up, that must mean that we're getting more information out and we're getting more people interested in the community. Email signups, those that want to find out more information about Brookings. Our website statistics, are people going to our website, and are those new visitors, and how long are they staying? Marketing impressions. So we do a lot of digital marketing, and fortunately, we're able to measure a lot of those things. Social media activity, grant applications. Now we're getting into kind of that recruitment and supporting of events with our number of grant applications. Return on investment. Are we getting a return on investment for those grant dollars that we're submitting? Our goal in the past had been between $80 and $100 for every dollar that we invested in an event, that money would come back to those levels. Now, the last couple of years, events were pretty much decimated in 2020, and they're slowly starting to rebuild, but we are seeing more grant dollars and grant applications coming back. So that is a little bit lagging. We also look at hotel occupancy, and of course the tax revenue in terms of the Triple B tax and BID, which are our 2 funding sources. So we look at a lot of different things to see if we're on track, not necessarily things that are always within our control. But again, there are trends that we look at to make sure that we're heading in the right direction. In your packet that you received with the budget presentation, you see the annual report that we put together for you specifically that talks about the objectives that we set forth and said, these are definitely the things we're going to do. We have many, many more goals that are outlined in our program of work. We just, it would just be too long for you guys to look at, and it wouldn't make much sense without having a presentation to go through the whole thing. So we pick out a few of those key areas. Just to give you kind of an update on our 2022 goals, one of the things that we set out to do was increase the Brookings Great Faces. That's a program put on through the South Dakota Department of Tourism. I think last year there were maybe 6 of our attractions. Well, we're trying to get more of those to become Brookings Great Faces. That falls into the bucket of the community development. We have worked this year on a Share Your Story campaign. This goes into more of the internal marketing to help people understand who we are and what we do so they can utilize our services better when they do have those events that come into town. So that's kind of it kind of crosses all of the different things. We wanted to identify 24 new leads of a meeting or event that could come into the community. And then adding restaurants. We in the past year have added a new CRM, a customer relationship management system, which makes us more efficient in how we do our jobs. And we have a great relationship with our attractions and with our hotels. We're trying to become more engaged with our restaurants because they are part of the visitor industry as well. So adding them into our CRM so we can communicate better with them and make sure that they know about all those different things that are coming into town so they can plan and make sure that they're ready for those big weekends. So in a nutshell, those are the main things that we have been working on. I am more than happy to answer questions, and happy to, we do much more than we can encapsulate in 3 to 5 minutes. So if anyone would like to sit down, I would welcome the opportunity to have coffee or to explain more about who we are and what we do. But I want to end by, I gave you all of a box, and I'm kind of a visual person, so I'm going to explain. This is something that we used when we went to recruit a conference called the Upper Midwest CVB. It's our counterparts from across the Upper Midwest. We were successful in getting the event bid, and this was our opportunity to showcase and welcome them and say, okay, next year you're all going to come to Brookings for this fantastic event. So if you take a look at the box, the outside of the box, think of that as Brookings as the community, and you'll see some of the different entities. You know, you'll see the Children's Museum and Nick's Hamburgers and all of those kind of things. Our job as staff and as an organization is to get you to want to open that box. That's the marketing piece of it. The box, again, is the community of Brookings, and then when you open it, you'll see all the inside stuff. So that is what we have to offer as a community. It's our parks, our quality of life, our great things that are going on, and in addition to our restaurants and our hotels and our attractions and those great events. So Again, think of us as the people who are trying to get you to open that box and get to the goodies inside. With that, I'm happy to answer your questions.
Thanks, Laura. Is there any questions? Councilmember Specker?
This is learning. This share, where is that exactly? Like, is that launched already?
The what campaign?
The Share Your Story?
The Share Your Story campaign, yes. We started that out, and it was a measure that we set forth a year ago, and we had a change in staff, in our marketing person. So what One Vision's staff person was evolved a little bit. There was a time where we didn't have a person, and then there was an onboarding person. So it shifted a little bit. So we're a little bit behind on that. But it started out as a way to, as we identified in our strategic plan, people don't know who Visit Brookings are in the community. They think we're either part of the city or they think we're part of the chamber. And while we have wonderful relationships with both you and the chamber, we are not the same entity. We became our own 501c6 organization in 2020. And part of our strategic plan was to explain a little bit about who we are and what we do and why. So the Share Your Story campaign was all about doing that, and it was planned out for the whole year. When we had to reevaluate and kind of shift things around a little bit, it got reduced a little bit, but you're going to start seeing that come back. So what we're doing is extending that a little bit later. So you're going to see more of that happening in early 2023.
Councilmember Collins?
So I couldn't wait. I opened the box a little bit ago, so I just want to thank you for thank you for the box and the contents. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Councilmember Specker, you have another comment?
I have another question. Yep.
Please.
A big chunk of the budget is event recruitment. Can you please describe what that is for?
Yep, absolutely. And it's an important distinction to know that in our office, we do not plan events. We're not event planners. What we do is we recruit meetings and events to try and come to Brookings. Other people run them. We help fund them. So we give them startup money. For example, NAIA, the National Indoor Track and Field Championship, is actually an event run by Dakota State University, held in Brookings at South Dakota State University. We help them put together the bid. I mean, if they didn't have the bid fee that we supply, that event wouldn't be coming to Brookings. Another good example is the cattle shows from a couple years ago. The Swiftel Center did a fantastic job of having 3 consecutive cattle shows during a very difficult year, which honestly saved many of the hotels from having serious, significant financial hardships. But they would not have been able to put on those events without the funding that they got from our office. So the application process is fairly simple, and that's one of the things that we're going to be working on in our Share Your Story, encouraging people to come to our organization and utilize this funding source to give them startup money for events that may want to come to Brookings.
So is that always zeroed out at the end of every year? Like, are you going to have spent this amount by the end of 2022?
I would say that we make our best effort to do that. In 2019, and Bridget is here in case I mess up, she might have some more specific information, but I did bring the 2019 report. In 2019, we had, 43 applications, 12 of them were new. We allocated $98,835 out of that line item. And of that, by putting that amount of information, giving that out in the form of grants, we brought in $10,168,000 in the return. So that's what it's for. So that's a long answer to your question. I would say in 2019, we were on track to utilize all the funds. Obviously, in 2020, we didn't because the events weren't happening. 2021, they weren't completely back. 2022, we're seeing more events. So we're hoping to get close this year, but we won't know until the end of the year. If in the event that we don't, there are always other things that we can do. For example, last year, we didn't spend all of our funds, so you have the Brookings tumblers. If we have extra funds, we stock up on those kind of things to help alleviate future budgets. We do welcome bags for conventions that come to town. If we need to stock up on bags, we stock up on bags if we have those excess funds. So they're always going to something that if we can't use the money this year, we find a way because we know those expenses will be out there in the future.
Thank you.
You bet.
All right. Any other questions, comments?
Thank you.
I believe the next one is student promotions.
Good evening, Mayor and Council members. My name is Erica Van Nieuwenhuis. I'm the Government Affairs Chair at SDSU and also the Chair of the Student Promotion Fund Committee. Just a little overview of the committee. SDSU Student Promotion Fund is an event grant program housed within the SDSU Students Association. The committee is appointed and run by the SDSU Government Affairs Chair. The committee is an 11-person committee made up of SDSU students, faculty, and a representative from the Visit Brookings Board of Directors. The SDSU Student Promotions Committee is responsible for the promotion of the fund, recruiting events, and making funding decisions based on the application review and metrics. Visit Brookings serves as the managing entity of the fund. The intent of the fund is to recruit and sponsor events that will provide entertainment, enhance the collegiate experience, and encourage students to remain in the community. A little bit of backstory on 2021. It was a bit of a rebuilding year. We had a couple of challenges. COVID continued to be a challenge in 2021. Some events that traditionally applied to the SDSU Student Promotion Fund were not held in 2021. It can be challenging to have connectivity and consistency as committee members change every year. Visit Brookings serves as the managing entity to help provide some connectivity year to year. Looking forward, we're highlighting some of the goals, those being to increase the promotion of the SDSU Student Promotions Fund. The committee will brainstorm ways to get the word out to campus organizations about the fund. We're doing that. We just had President's Council last week, so that is when the SDSU Students Association executive team meets with all the presidents of the student organizations on campus and gives them different information about how they can apply for the Student Promotion Fund or for other things on campus that they can get money for their organizations, so they're aware of the Student Promotion Fund. We're looking at ways to market the fund to campus organizations in different ways, such as that President's Council. The fiscal responsibility is to focus on event economic impact and return on investment. Fiscal responsibility is and will continue to be a focus of the committee. The committee will continue to focus on supporting events that provide economic impact to the community and provide a positive return on investment. Economic impact and return on investment are part of the application review process. And we increase the promotion of the committee to aid in attracting community members. A one-sheet infographic explaining the program and outlining the responsibilities of the chair and committee members has been drafted and is in the final stages of review. And then one last thing, we just met today. We had our first meeting with the Student Promotion Fund Committee, and we had one application for the Hobo Day Committee, and we voted to completely fund their $21,000 request from the Student Promotion Fund to Hobo Day Committee and the Hobo Day celebration that SDSU has at the end of October. So we completely funded their $21,000 request, and on there it says we usually use about $25,000, with the Hobo Day Committee being the largest application that we receive, and that's where most of our chunk goes to, is to the Hobo Day Committee. And with that, I think that's all I have, so I will stand by for any questions.
Just wanted to let council know, a funding agency, Laura and Bridget at the CVB help manage the funds for this program. The city is often committed about $50,000 a year. If they don't spend all the money, then the amount that's budgeted in your budget is to bring them back up to the $50,000 to make sure they always have $50,000 at the beginning of the year. So that's why in here you see $25,000 versus $50, because they only utilized $25,000 last year. $25,000 will bring them back up to that $50,000 commitment.
Council, comments? Councilmember Specker.
Asking so many questions, but I really like specific details. And you have, for the last 3 years, the activities that have been listed have been identical, including writing a one-page infographic as a goal that doesn't seem to be getting met. Could you make, perhaps in the next application, a little bit more realistic goals, or what it is you're actually going to do with the money? I know that it takes time to write these things, but it is money that you're asking for that I think would be good to actually have a list of what you want to do. If that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. We're definitely working, and we discussed at the meeting today, we're working on finding ways to get these student organizations to really use this fund opportunity so that we're not just using the same committees or organizations that come every year. We really want the 200 student organizations on campus to understand what this fund is and that they have the chance to use it. So I will definitely take that into consideration. Thank you.
Arts Council.
Members, staff, I'm Jameson Lamp. I'm current board chair of the Brookings Arts Council. As you may know, we're in a bit of a transition, so I got the short straw of giving tonight's presentation. So happy to be here and thankful for the support of the city in the past years for the work that we can do there. The past year has been an exciting year at the Arts Council. I think it's one that the board and staff are all very appreciative of and the work that has been done there. We're incredibly supportive of the city's continued investment in the Arts Council, both in our operating and expenditures that are outlined in the request and the investment that has happened in the building over the last 5 years. It's a pretty significant transformation and one that continues us to do some really great work there. As we did just conclude our fiscal year at the end of June, I'm happy to share a few brief numbers and highlights as to the past year and what that's looked like at the Brookings Arts Council. So with your investment, we've been able to leverage that to bring in an additional $56,000 worth of grant funds over the last year to capitalize on the opportunities that have been there to participate in either like Mental Health Coalition or other grants that have been specific over the past year where those funds were available. And I'll highlight a few of those later. We hosted 55 classes and workshops over the past year. We were in our third year of summer camps, offering 6 unique week-long activities that were either a full morning or a full afternoon of programming for kind of a targeted age bracket of kind of middle school age students to participate in that. We engaged more than 649 participants from the community and abroad in our workshops, classes, and activities that happen in our classroom. Through a grant with the Mental Health Coalition and others, we were able to produce 20 on-demand videos that live on our YouTube channel that really stemmed out of some COVID funding as well to be able to capitalize and offer art, kind of art breaks or art access to students that may not be either comfortable coming into a venue yet or have that access to that as well. The Flandreau Indian School has been a solid partner of ours in using some of those videos as they're currently without an art instructor. So they also bring students a couple times a semester into our building, do an art activity, and then participate in either dining out or going to a restaurant or different things like that. So we were also able, through another grant that we received, to scholarship 49 students into either a workshop, one of those summer camps, or a class at the Arts Council as a way to provide really that accessibility to all and make that, you know, a great partnership. We've worked with the Brookings United or Brookings Youth Mentoring Program to be able to offer where maybe if the mentor pays for a class that the student is free or that type of thing to be able to leverage and provide that access for them. We continued our 8th year of the Art Factory, which is a partnership with the United Way. It's been a really great program. We see 15 participants a week through that with our partnership with Advance. And it's a really fun environment if you're ever available on a Wednesday afternoon to stop by the classroom and see those artists participating in the various things that are put together for that. An additional grant as part of that $56,000 was an artist in recovery grant through the state of South Dakota. That allowed us to go into 6 local nursing homes and do kind of a painting or art activity throughout the months of January, February, and March. So sometimes a rather depressing time of year to not have a lot of access to outside. We were able to go in and provide a great kind of respite for that. We hosted 3 national artists that were able to come in and do a public presentation, partner with our schools, and see one both at our middle school and Dakota Prairie for this past summer. We hosted 7 exhibits in our gallery space, which is always open and free to the public. As others have mentioned, 2020 and 21 kind of offered a little hiccup in the way that goes, but most of 21 and 22 brought us back to a pretty regular schedule of those 7 exhibits. We supported 2 additional murals in the downtown district, and we were also named the Tourism Destination of the Year by Visit Brookings. We often use the tagline, "Make Art Happen," and I really believe we've done that in the past year. We provide a really unique access to the arts, and I think you can see that in the way that our funding and grant applications have been structured is very intentional to provide that level of access. We sometimes like to think of ourselves as Arts 101 for the entire community, so there's something for everyone to participate and act upon there. As we look to the future, some of the things that we're working on is we're making a transition to a calendar year, fiscal year match, which I think will be beneficial as we continue to look at grant funding and other things. We seem to be a little bit off target there in comparison to other arts councils across the state. So we're operating in an 18-month budget at the current time and looking forward to that transition being finished. As many of you probably know, our executive director, Ashley Ragsdale, left in June. At that time, I appointed a task force to kind of manage us through the transition and help look at that new hire. We did an interim hire of Rachel Funk, and she's been in that position since the middle of June, and done a really nice job of navigating us through this time of change. Really robust selection of fall classes, and brought in some really kind of fun and unique perspectives to the Arts Council. So you'll see a lot more information about an executive director hire, search, and all of that in the coming weeks. The board has been very busy working on those items and really looking forward to that. So with that, I stand by for any questions, and thank you for your support for many years, and hoping to see that again in the future.
Thanks, Jameson. Collins?
So I hate to be the, because I know how important the band is for Brookings. Oh, this is the Art Council. I thought it was the band. Never mind.
I would just like to thank the proposal. I think this is probably the best proposal I've seen, and the progress report is fantastic. So
Thank you.
I want to thank you instead of asking a lot of questions, actually say thank you.
I'll take that comment anytime, Bonnie.
Councilmember Tilton Burn.
Jameson, I don't know if you're the right person to ask this to, or maybe Laura from Visit Brookings, but I think one of the things you mentioned was the murals that we have downtown. I think it's been just phenomenal to see more and more of those come to the downtown area. I'm wondering, do we have anything, because I think we have resources for a sculpture walk. Do we have anything similar to, in terms of like a downtown mural walk or anything like that, so that visitors or others that are in the community know where they can go to see those art pieces?
Sure. If it's okay with Laura, I'm going to put on both hats as chair of this Visit Brookings and chair of the Arts Council and say that, yes, there has been work done on that. I believe those will live on the Arts Council site once they're up and running. And Visit Brookings uses those, or that landing page and direction in their visitor guide and kind of other talking points throughout the community. I don't know if we have the last 2 updated there. As you can imagine, in a time of transition, there's a level of priority, and that might not have bubbled to the top. But we will look into that and make sure that those are addressed.
So a comment that Councilmember Specker and I and Paul and Eric Rangel went to Fort Collins, and we looked at old town areas where they redid some things. One of the things that, and they had one of the alleyways they were redoing, and then there was a guy that was painting the mural on this whole side of this building that's being built for low-income housing. But the one thing that really stuck out to me in Fort Collins is almost every electrical transformer box is painted. It's got some kind of a logo on it or a scene. It's gorgeous, and I don't know if we can get BMU to maybe consider doing that at least downtown and maybe in some of our parks areas, that kind of thing. I think it's something maybe we should take a look at.
Well, luckily for you, Mayor, I am the Arts Commission, and I can I can tell you that we have had those discussions, and there is work being done.
All right. Thank you. Any other questions? All right. Okay, so we have Brookings Community Band. Get done with this, we'll wrap it up, start the meeting.
Kathy Larson, Board Chair of the Brookings Area Community Band. As many as you know, the Brookings Area Community Band was established in 1984. So we're going on 39 years of being in the community. We believe, and our goals are, to provide instrumental band music through a month and a half during the summer months, and to provide real good community band music through the years. We also like to include all the citizens of Brookings and the players in Brookings, and include everyone in Brookings and surrounding areas with our band. We just pretty much have a focus of providing really good music to the citizens of Brookings and the people that come to visit. We have a budget. It's a smaller budget than I've been hearing all night long, but our focus is small too. But I think that we bring a very valuable opportunity to the citizens of Brookings. And this opportunity is free. You don't have to bring a penny in your pocket to come and enjoy the music that the band provides. We have a director, and we've only had 3 directors in the 38 years that we have been in existence. Dave Martinson began the band again in 1984. Jim McKinney was with the band for over 30 years, and now David Reynolds is our director. We also have an assistant director, which helps. We have a music librarian, and they get paid for that, and we give a small honorarium to our band members. We typically have 103 band members. They range from age 15 years old to people in their 80s. Some of these band members have been with the band since 1984. We have band members that have been, many band members that have been in the band for over 25 years, including me. As you can tell, I'm probably pretty passionate about this band and keeping it like it has been. We do have sponsors for each one of our complimentary treats. They provide, the Kiwanis Club is one of our sponsors. Hy-Vee is a sponsor. And also the Brookings Disability Awareness Committee. The Kiwanis people, when they have, usually sponsor our first band, they provide the workers, and they meet the people and enjoy the band music too. Brookings Disabilities Awareness Committee also provides the workers, and we let different organizations throughout the community, if they want to put a flyer in our program, to do that, and we promote what they want to have here in the city. This summer we had a great opportunity to celebrate the 85th anniversary of Pioneer Park Bandshell. And as you all know, it's on the National Historic Register. And as you all know, and we thank you for supporting the renovation of the bandshell. That's very, very important to us. It's a great pleasure to play on a bandshell of that caliber. And it is, even though it was built 85 years ago, that's a tremendous bandshell. If you ever go out and stand right in the middle, your voice project all the way across the park, and they can hear if you whisper. So it's a great facility. We usually have between 400 and 600 people every week at that concert, which I think is tremendous. We get babies, we get small children, we get families, we get old people. The people from the nursing home right across the street, they walk over or they sit in their wheelchairs on the sidewalk and listen to us. We have families pick up their older members that are in nursing homes or assisted living, and they wheel those wheelchairs on that grass and bring their families to those band concerts because they want to come because they've enjoyed it for so many years. Maybe the highlight of our concerts is the Children's March. I don't know how many of you have been to a band concert, but we have between 35 and 40 kids marching with us every night, and we have people carrying their babies with a band hat on, marching with us. I'd like to really express our compliments to SDSU Music Department. They have been a major sponsor for us these last 38 years. They've always provided a practice facility free of charge. If a person does not have an instrument, they provide that instrument for that person to play. They also provide just a great opportunity for a lot of different members to get together. A great resource. They let us store all of our band music in their music library, and that is a big row of their music. So without their support, we could not do this. And they have never charged us for anything and are very supportive of what we do. Also, we have a big fundraiser, a Brottenberger fundraiser at the end of the year, and Max Catering is the sponsor of that, and he only charges us for the ingredients and gives the rest of that money to us. We also have help from Brian Hildebrandt. He is our CPA, gives his services free of charge to keep our books in order. When we do the Summer Arts Festival, we have a booth there, and that's how we raise some of our money for our expenses. There's a couple of things that we do that are pretty special. We play at the Summer Arts Festival at 10 a.m. on Sunday morning to open that day up, and everybody in the park enjoys that. And also we participate with the city in the 4th of July parade, where we ride a float and play band music. You can't have a parade without a live instrumental parade band. So we look forward to doing that. We look forward to all of the concerts that we perform at. Probably one of the things that we can't express in a report that we have to give you is the atmosphere that we as a band create for the community. The excitement that you see when you come in, all the people that come in, the band members when they come in. There's people riding their bikes when they come in. We open this band to anybody that wants to play. We have interns that come to Brookings for the summer. They learn about the band and they play with us. The atmosphere is kind of electric. You hear the kids playing over by the park, and then when that downbeat comes and the band starts, those kids are right sent in front of the band and dancing, directing, playing along with us. We practice hard, the band does. We practice 3 weeks before our actual concert. We practice 2 hours a week on a Monday night. Then after that, we practice on a Monday night, and then we play a concert on a Sunday night. So who plays in our band really does put in a lot of time. Going back to the atmosphere, we have a lot of laughter, a lot of conversation, a lot of kids playing, and just a fun time. We really appreciate the money that has been provided to us by the city. We don't get many grants, but we do have a program where we send out letters of money, requesting money from different entities and different people in the community. It's basically the people of this community who support the band. It really is, from their donations. And it's not just Brookings people. We have people in Sioux Falls that support the band. They have a child at SDSU that plays in the band and communities in the summer, and they support the band from there. We have people from Iowa that come in and see their family in the community band and also support us. We have a drum. We have a treat table every week, and there's a drum there. You can put some money in there if you want. You might see a kid throw in 5 pennies, and there might be a check for $500. So that's how we support the band, with your money that you give us. Like I say, we're so appreciative of it. We work closely with Park and Recreation, and they keep that band shell good for us, and the park is always beautiful. Do you have any questions of me?
Any questions, comments? Councilman Collins?
That was great.
Sure.
Community band, I really am. But I think we need to address the lateness of their application, and as Paul mentioned earlier, I realize it was a short time, but if we say yes to this, what do we do next time if somebody's 10 days late or 20 days late? I'd like to hear what you folks think.
Any other comments, questions? All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
And then we have a presentation from Dakota Community Market.
Hello there. I'm Bess Bayadas. I'm the Vice President of Dakota Community Market. We're a startup food co-op that will be located. We started in 2019 with a steering committee, a group of volunteers that wanted to bring a food co-op to Brookings. We incorporated in June 2021. As it stands now, we just held our second annual meeting, did our second round of elections for our board of directors, which has 11 members from surrounding communities and Brookings. And we have 211 owner shares, and secondary owners bring in at close to about 400 individuals in Brookings who are invested in the co-op. I have a brief video, I hope this plays sound, that kind of explains the co-op that we can start with. Maybe. Oh, sorry, it's taking us to YouTube. Or it's not. We can just ignore that. Sorry, folks, that was supposed to be embedded. Nope, okay. Well, basically, Food Co-op is a grocery store. We're a community-owned grocery store. A cooperative business is owned collectively by all the individual investors in it. For Dakota Community Market, people buy in for a $150 one-time lifetime fee. That's you becoming an owner of the market. Obviously, we need a lot more than that to actually are limited in the way that they're able to raise funding to start their businesses. We have access to some grant funds, but we're not a nonprofit. We're not even, a B Corp. So we're able to apply for some grant funds, but most of our funding has to come from what's called a capital campaign, which is a large campaign where cooperatives raise a big amount of money to build, staff, and stock their store over a set period of time. We don't really have access to SBA funds. They've recently become available to cooperatives, but have only been awarded in really narrow instances. So the best way that we can raise funding is to have a huge campaign where we seek foundation support, the grant support that we do have access to, preferred share from our owners, and then, just general donations and more owner investment in the co-op. Decided to start a food co-op here is Brookings residents really need and want more grocery options. 2019, the Brookings Economic Development Corporation ran a consumer survey. I know that's a little outdated, but we all know what happened in the time between then and now. But 70% of consumers who responded to the survey were very interested in more grocery options. 80% of those prefer to shop within Brookings. They're people like me who are sick of driving to Sioux Falls to buy groceries, and 94% prefer shopping in brick and mortars. There's very little sales leakage to online sales. We're also a USDA recognized low access and low income grocery zone that was previously referred to as a food desert, but that's not a term that's used anymore. Our entire county is actually low access. And then about 40% of our population lives in a low income zone as well. Sorry, my mouth's dry. For our current infrastructure, we have 2 full service grocery stores. You folks all know which ones they are. They're 1 mile apart from each other. For 10,000 population for our county, we have 0.68 grocery stores. The state average is 2.84. So a little information about that capital campaign and why we need it. Honestly, it costs at the low end $1.5 million to build a food co-op, probably closer to about $2 million or more given the current climate. These are the ways that we can get that, is really those preferred shares, donations, grants, and owner loans. So we had requested $75,000 to support that capital campaign. As we say, with food co-ops, it's a little tough. We aren't able to find, bank loans to support these things. We really need some seed money to be able to raise this huge amount of money that we need, which then we have a store that's owned by the community. We can focus the community. We can prioritize local farmers in our sales. We keep more of our dollars circulating locally. That $75,000, I provided an actual budget breakdown in our request, but it pays for things like legal fees, consulting, graphic design and video support, volunteer support, software systems to track the campaign, and then professional staffing and project management to really keep it focused. For other funding sources, we do get those $150 owner shares. We also received technical assistance this last year through the Healthy Food Financing Initiative, which is a USDA-supported grant that's going to provide about $25,000 in business development services, including our full market study, pro forma financial counseling, and project management coaching. And then we're also seeking foundation, donation, and grant support through things like the READ Fund through the Rural Electric Economic Development Corporation and the USDA, and then large manufacturers and businesses in South Dakota. And I just wanted to end briefly by sharing our mission statement with you all. And that's that Dakota Community Market is committed to provide sustainable, local, healthy, and fairly traded goods and services, support and nourish the local economy through programs, partnerships, and cooperation, and engage the greater community through outreach and education regarding food and nutrition, as well as environmental and social responsibility. And I can take questions.
I have a question actually for the council. That BEDC can help with certain aspects of this?
I'll admit that's what staff's idea was, our thought when this request came forward. It's much like an entrepreneurship, but more or less a non-for-profit entrepreneurship. So we thought BEDC or other economic development entities who help entities get off the ground would be more proper, or maybe potentially United Way or other non-for-profit social service type of agency funding mechanisms.
Have you talked to anyone at BEDC?
Yeah, we actually won second place in the 2020 business idea competition through BEDC, and we talk to them often. I know they've had kind of some rotating leadership there, so we reintroduce ourselves. We actually have $750 waiting for us to claim when we hit a milestone from winning that. A lot of what they're able to offer and what has been offered locally are things like market studies, pro formas. With food co-ops, we actually really need to work with specific cooperative professionals who understand the details and the nuances of this business model, because it's not the same as just a standard small business model or franchise model. So we were really happy to receive that technical assistance through the reinvestment fund, because they're actually hooking us up with, honestly, the industry best individuals who are going to set us up for success. With that full market study, they'll fly in. The pro forma will actually get 24 months of ongoing counseling and revisions to our pro forma through that service. So they do have great services. They don't quite fit with us. We do get involved in other ways. I'm currently involved in the Sutton Leadership Institute Rural Power Program, which is focused on cooperative development. So that has connected me to a lot of people around the state in co-ops. We're really engaged with the electric cooperatives now as well, and they help us.
All right. Any other comments? Councilmember Tilton Burn.
First, that from the staff perspective, historically, council has funded similar types of things towards the end of a campaign rather than at the beginning. Would you recommend that they come back perhaps next year and reapply for funding that they may still need at that time, or what would that recommendation look like?
Yeah, from staff's perspective, it'd be if they had a majority of the funds already committed or donated to an extent where they just need to raise the last remaining whatever X percentage that is. And if it's a council priority as well, you as city council have a lot of different projects on the plate, and whether or not you can afford it as well, you would then have to prioritize, because you do have limited funds, the commitment to such an effort.
Bess, then my next question for you would be, what could you state for us what your timeline is for your capital campaign and what your overall goal is for those fundraising efforts?
Certainly, yeah. So we won't really have a firm target number for the amount of money we're trying to raise until we get our full market study done by the individuals named Debbie Sasana. But I'm guessing it's going to be around the $2 to $2.5 million range. Our timeline for that, right now we're at 211 owners. We just hired a marketing intern who's actually going to help us spread our message a lot more. Our next goal is to hit 300 owners, and then when we reach 450, which we're hoping to do in like late spring of next year, that's when we would look at launching our capital campaign. That's the recommended timeline for launching a campaign based on a community of our size. We work with a national nonprofit called the Food Co-op Initiative that actually helps food co-ops start sustainably all around the country. So we've been engaged with them for years. We attend an annual conference, work with consultants, and are engaged in constant learning and best practices with those organizations. So that's kind of how we set those standards.
Would you guess then, it sounds like if you're looking at kind of mid next year at really launching that campaign, do you envision that to be something that's maybe another year, 2 years down the line before you kind of reach the end target?
So capital campaigns are run over short bursts of time for about 12 weeks, actually. So we'll work on things like establishing a major donation from like a corporation, things like Sanford Health or maybe First Bank and Trust, those kinds of organizations, to get them to invest, in that development in the community to kick that off. And then very similar to an NPR kind of fundraising campaign. I don't know if you folks have gotten those calls this week, like I have. We reach out to people and find ways for matching grants to, be engaged. We do have individuals in the community who are already saying that they'll commit some of those matching grants. So honestly, though, until we get the money to run a capital campaign, we can't start a capital campaign. Just a thing about co-ops is early engagement is really important. Much of the Midwest and the interior West is actually on electric grids, because in the early 20th century, rural cooperative electric companies went, farm to farm and asked farmers to join them, and those people invested. A really good image to have in your mind is if you're waiting for a light bulb to turn on, you have to lay the wire before it's going to happen.
I'm wondering if there might be an opportunity to creatively figure out ways to come up with the funding rather than having dollars come directly from the city. If you'd mentioned that with co-ops you're not eligible to apply for certain types of funding, grants, and things of that nature, I'm wondering if there might be an opportunity to partner either with the city or with one of our partner organizations that might be an entity that can apply for certain types of funding to help initiate this kind of effort. And I don't know if maybe some of those things have already been explored by the co-op, or if you've kind of looked at some of those partnerships, or if we might have any ideas of where we could fill those
Yeah,
gaps.
one of the things someone just mentioned to me earlier was Vision Brookings. I know Vision Brookings raises money for needs within the community, specifically related to economic development. But when you look at a food co-op, that is an opportunity to provide more food sources throughout the community for people within the community. You might try that as well. Tim is directly associated with Vision Brookings here in the community as well.
Great, yeah. And I know that, we're looking to partner with, different organizations. The Dakota Rural Action Network actually sponsored us on our application to the reinvestment fund. So any way that we can partner with people, when we go to that conference for FCI, we hear from co-ops around the country that have received a ton of support from their states and their cities and counties, who partner often on grants or work with state legislators to allocate that funding. So that's absolutely something that we'd love to talk about.
Just to the fellow council members, I would encourage us to find ways that we can support this, whether that be through funding from us or other ways that we can get creative to do that, because I do think that this would be a phenomenal thing to bring to our community.
All right. Thank you. Paul, you had
Bonnie, if you can just move one more slide, just so council and the public knows, week where we'll hear from Brookings Economic Development Corporations, the Research Park, and the school district, as well as a discussion on scholarship funds, which is related to the budget. If the council should choose to change the funding of any of this process, we recommend making that known earlier in the process rather than later, because the funding is directly tied to an ordinance that has to be passed, and it usually takes 2 readings. There's a time requirement. We still have plenty of time, but the earlier you can let us know, the better off we'll all be. I did want to present this information to City Council and to the public, just so we're all aware of the outside agency funding request. It is real dollars, and it does mean a commitment and investment of the community. Our city staff job by going out, looking at all our peer communities and diving deep into their budgets. Not something fun that I would love to do, but I'm very thankful that we have staff willing to do this. She did this so that she can provide, so that we can look at a comparison of revenue as well as funding sources for other peer cities. Brookings is very unique, but that we do also fund a vast amount of municipal budget for our outside agencies. This funding does assure our partner agencies are supported, but Brookings is almost 3 times the amount more than most peer cities, as you can see, beyond Aberdeen. Many don't commit to the amount of CIP or general fund dollars as Brookings does, as you can see noted in the green, in the blue area. That's your general fund or capital improvement fund. Many of those dollars are usually spent for operations, employees, city employees, investments in facilities. I bring this up because I'm often asked, why can't Brookings have facilities like Watertown or have more employees for parks or what have you? It's because we're limited by our resources, revenues, and we invest those revenues very differently than other communities. Here in Brookings, we've chosen to invest right around $2.6 million in outside agencies, and if we added on the amount that we're investing into the research park next year for infrastructure, right around $2.3 million, the amount of subsidy for the airport, that's another $400,000. It starts adding up. But at the end of the day, once again, these are investments. But I want to point out that these are real dollars, and it means that we can't invest in other areas. Here and within the next month and a half, you'll be challenged with how we're going to find another extra $10, $12 million for the police department. For a bond that size, you're looking at $800,000 a year for the next 20 years. And we can't just make up that revenue stream. It's going to come by trying to reallocate and reprioritizing the hopes and desires in the future of Brookings. And that's going to be very challenging and difficult. I think this council's up for the task. But it also means that we have to be aware of how these dollars are invested, because you do need to see a rate of return so you can afford those things that are necessary to replace, such as buildings and operations for this community. So just wanted to point that out real quickly. Once again, thank you, Ashley, and Jake, who I know is watching, even though I told him not to watch the council meeting. And thank you for all the department heads who helped put together this budget presented at $61.5 million for the city council.
Okay. Thank you, Paul. 6 o'clock for our regular meeting, but I think let's take a 5-minute recess. Those who plan on attending, and maybe take a potty break. We'll get started right at 6:30. Okay, let's get started. First item on the agenda is the open forum. Is there any member of the public wish to address the council on an item not listed on tonight's agenda?
Good evening. Jury, I live at 2004 Rio Grande Avenue in Brookings. And what I have tonight to discuss is virtually a reminder that the oath when you took office, you swore to uphold the U.S. and South Dakota Constitutions. The Constitution of the United States is the fundamental law of the U.S. federal system of government and a landmark document of the Western world. It's the oldest written national constitution in operation, completed in 1787 at the Constitutional Convention. The Constitution was ratified in June 1788, but because ratification in many states was contingent on the promised addition of Bill of Rights, Congress proposed 12 amendments in September 1789, and 10 were ratified by the states and adopted December 15, 1791. These Bill of Rights began with the First Amendment, which I'll touch on. Amendment 1 addresses freedom of religion, speech, and the press. Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof or abridging the freedom of speech or of the press, or the right of people peaceably to assemble and to petition the government for a redress of grievances. Now, I've touched on this with the county commission and the school board, so I'm just giving you a little bit on this tonight. Under the subtitle 1.3.8, it's titled Fighting Words, Hostile Audiences, and True Threats. There are certain well-defined and narrowly limited classes of speech that include the lewd and obscene, the profane, the libelous, and the insulting or fighting words. And with this, that means those by which their very utterance inflict injury or tend to incite an immediate breach of peace. I listened to the comments of the speaker on the September 13th meeting and the response of the council. The speaker was redressing a grievance in line with the First Amendment. Here's a quote from the Attorney General of the United States, Merrick Garland, on hate speech memorandum on October 27th of last year. He said, and I quote, "The news reports I'm talking about were not the news reports in that letter. They were other news reports that everybody has heard about, subsequent reports everybody has heard about, and there is nothing in this memorandum, and I wish if senators were concerned about this, they would quote my word. This memorandum is not about parents being able to object. They are protected by the First Amendment. As long as there are no threats of violence, they are completely protected. So parents can protest about government policies. All of that is 100% protected by the First Amendment, and there is nothing in this memorandum contrary to it."
Thank you for your
Thank
comments, Mr. Struy. Is there anyone else in the, all right.
At 2004 Rio Grande Avenue in Brookings. The public continues to be misinformed, and one has to do research on what's being told out there. Those who wish to find the truth is not spoken. The info out there is not hate speech, but truth informing those who are still asleep. In regards to the COVID shots, info's been out there in various forms of materials, even on television, and it's been quoted and said that they are experimental. And that's what part of this word is nobody understanding. This is something not to be taken lightly. And all the reputable doctors out there and scientists have proven of what is the contents, and the findings are dangerous. I believe that there is an article Dr. David Martin distributed to you last month, and I'm hoping all of you had read it because it's full of factual truth of information. There's so many lies out there that the real truth is really hard to decipher. Mandates are illegal, and why would you want us to take something that is not tested? Mandates go against the Constitution, and I believe there were oaths taken to uphold the Constitution by the elected to uphold these truths, and whom you serve are those who elected you. I have a few facts from January 12, 2021, NIH.gov, experimental vaccine highly effective. Really? It said experimental, that word again. How can it be highly effective if it's not tested and it's experimental? Another by NIH.gov, same date, experimental coronavirus, vaccine is safe. How do they know that? The word experimental. Okay, why do they still give it after more than 50 people from the beginning have died from it? In past experiences, people start dying from it, they stop it. They don't give it anymore. Well, there must be some kind of motive behind this because they're still giving it. Dr. Fauci, in February of 2017, warned us in a speech at Georgetown University that a surprise outbreak, as he called it, in quotes, would occur during the Trump administration. How did he know that? 3 years prior, the masks have been proven they don't work. The PCR tests were made to be used not for viral testing. They came out and told us they didn't work. And having to magnify what they find in their scope by 40 times or more, that was wrong, and that's not what was supposed to be done. July 2021, we were told at that time not to use the PCR tests anymore because they don't work. January 24, 2021, a study in 3 states, all administered, that were administered, the results all came back, all fake positives. So I suggest you read the article that on Dr. David Martin. You were given the research that you had, need to wake up, and they say there's more to come. Legalizing voting and yes to recreational use of the marijuana, that's going to lead to more
Thank you for your comments.
Issues.
Your time is up, ma'am.
Good evening. My name is Jeanette Gibbons. I live at 1709 Dirdall Drive. And I too am following up on information that I shared with you at the last meeting and on numerous occasions before, both at the city council meetings and through email. Now, I do have concerns since the last meeting that we had that I sent 3 emails without getting response to them. And simply, I'm looking for clarification of your understanding of the emergency use authorization status of not only the shots, but the masks, mandates, distancing, everything that we went through since COVID started. Everything occurred under emergency use authorization, experimental, and everybody had a right to deny and say, no, I will not do it. Now, misinformation, as Susan talked about, we've been labeled as the conspiracy theorists for bringing forth information from sources other than Dr. Fauci, the CDC, the NIH, FDA, and yet I point to some of those exact sources for my information, and yet I'm just basically ignored. So the last email that I sent, 3 of them actually, I had 9 questions, true, false questions, and I passed along this information to Bonnie Foster and asked her to post it for public record. And every one of those statements was true. We are operating under emergency use authorization. The emergency, public health emergency, is set to expire October 13th, although my studies today tell me that that's probably been extended now till January. The COVID tests are approved under EUA, emergency use authorization. The vaccines, the COVID vaccines do not have a vaccine information statement, which is the gold standard that tells us that these are FDA approved, which they are not. Each of the COVID vaccines I listed and said there's an EUA, Emergency Use Authorization fact sheet, available for this vaccine. So I listed the 5 vaccines. They are all emergency use authorization. None of you would fess up to that by responding to my email. I've called the Attorney General's office. I've sent emails to them. I'm pending a phone call back now tomorrow. I mean, I've gone in circles with this information. What I advise, what I hope will come from you as leaders of our community is that you will step up and do the right thing. If you were operating under misinformation, if you made decisions thinking you were doing the right thing, but you were given misinformation yourself from our trusted health authorities, then stand up and say so. You know what? That was wrong. I'm going to do better, and we are going to correct this situation. So I just have a short statement that I'll read, and I think all of us have much more power in bringing things to closure and pointing our community in the right direction again. I think all of us have that power within us right now. I choose. I choose to live by choice, not chance. To be motivated, not manipulated.
Jeanette,
to be
your time
useful,
is up.
not used. To make changes, not excuses.
Time is up.
To excel, not compete. I choose self-esteem, not self-pity. I choose to listen to my inner voice, not to the random opinions of others. And I'll close by saying I choose to do my own research and use my own mind. And I hope you will do the same.
The audience have any comments or questions that they want to bring forth? Councilmember Specker, do you want to make a statement?
Yes, I do. As a we have been hearing that these vaccines are under emergency use, and I just want to clarify that the Pfizer vaccine for individuals age 16 and older is no longer an emergency use. It was approved on August 23rd, 2021. You can go to the FDA website. You can Google Pfizer or COVID vaccine FDA, and you'll find the approvals there as well as the different package inserts for that particular vaccine. It was also approved by the FDA for use in 12 to 15-year-olds on July 8th of 2022. The Moderna COVID vaccine was approved on January 31st of 2022 for individuals 18 years and older. Both the Pfizer and the Moderna are marketed now under different names because that can only happen. They get a trade name upon FDA approval. The Pfizer is under Comirnaty, and the Moderna is marketed under Spikevax. So also, if you're outside those age ranges, like it has not been approved for under 12 years of age, but that approval is in the process. So I just wanted to clarify that for the public. These are no longer in emergency use authorization.
Jeanette, there's not going to be any dialogue tonight.
If
you
these
made your statements,
vaccines
we're done.
It's the vaccine information statement, which is the FDA-approved vaccine. If you print the FDA information statement, that is not the same as a
I believe
vaccine
the mayor
information
closed-
fact sheet.
The mayor
Thank you.
closed the
Close
public
open
comment.
forum. Let's move on. Are there any items that need to be removed from the consent agenda? Seeing none, entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Any questions from council or comments? Please call the roll.
Collins,
Aye.
Duran,
Aye.
Niemeyer,
Aye.
Specker,
Aye.
Tiltonburn,
Aye.
Avery.
Aye.
Motion passes. On to item 7, presentations and reports. We have 2 presentations to do tonight, and we'll do the disability one first. All right. Whereas National Disability Employment Awareness Month is commemorating its 77th anniversary of educating about disability employment issues and celebrating the contributions of America's disabled workers. And whereas National Disability Employment Awareness Month is led by the U.S. Department of Labor's Office of Disability Employment Policy, but its true spirit lies in the observances held at the grassroots level. And whereas employers of all sizes and in all industries are encouraged to participate in National Disability Employment Awareness Month, and whereas workplaces welcoming the talents of all people, including disabled people, are a critical part of our efforts to build an inclusive community and strong economy. Now therefore, I, Opke G. Niemeyer, Mayor of the City of Brookings, do here proclaim October 2022 as Disability Employment Awareness Month. If you have some comments, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor Opie, City Council, and public at large. So more than 75 years ago, NDEAM was established. Each year, we, the Disability Awareness Committee of Brookings, we recognize NDEAM to call to attention the importance of employment of disabled individuals. Disability has such a wide range of cognitive and physical challenges, and it keeps evolving and increasing in scope to cover more challenges. Each year, our committee also supports the Empower Award during the annual Mayor's Award ceremony to acknowledge businesses who actively and consistently make commitments to employ disabled individuals and improve working conditions. We thank the City of Brookings for the continuous advocacy of employment of disabled individuals throughout our community. Disabled individuals, they may not be able to do everything, but what they can, they do very well. And that's because employment is more than just a paycheck. It's about feeling appreciated and doing your part in the town to keep moving forward day to day.
Thank you. All right. On to the next one. Okay, so, so we have Sarah and Katie, our enforcement officers, and Mike Struck here, Community Development Director. And we have another mayoral proclamation here. Whereas code enforcement officers provide for safety and welfare of the citizens of Brookings through the enforcement of local codes or ordinances facing various issues of building, zoning, housing, environmental, health, and life safety. And whereas code enforcement officers often have a challenging and demanding role and often do not receive recognition for the job that they do in improving the quality of life for residents and businesses. And whereas code enforcement officers are dedicated professionals who share the goals of preventing and neighborhood deterioration, enhancing and ensuring safety, and preserving property values through knowledge and application of housing, zoning, and nuisance codes and ordinances. And whereas code enforcement officers often have a highly visible role in the community and regularly interact with a variety of state, county, and local agencies, first responders, and citizens. And whereas code enforcement officers are called upon to provide quality customer service and excellence to the residents and businesses of our community. And whereas Brookings recognizes the benefits code enforcement officers provide by keeping our city safe and clean. Now thereby be it resolved that I, Opke G. Niemeyer, Mayor of the City of Brookings, do hereby proclaim October as National Code Compliance Month. I guess I'd just make a couple comments. I do know that every once in a while we get calls from residents and citizens that says, well, they told me I wasn't doing it right, or my grass is too tall, or we had a tree in the way, or nobody's ever said anything before. Well, we sometimes didn't enforce the code as much as we have now, and I think we've made more of a presence on it, and I think Katie and Sarah here do a pretty good job. Thank you very much.
So I'll just say a few words. These two are very excited to be here tonight. They begged to speak, but I drew this short straw. So these two do a fabulous job in their day-to-day activities, and if you're not in our office, you don't get a firsthand account of what they have to go through on a daily basis. So they deal a lot with nuisance complaints in the community, zoning complaints, property maintenance issues. They also handle our rental inspection program for our rental housing in the community. So one day they may be telling somebody to clean up their property, and then the next day they're asking them to get into that same house to do the inspection to make sure that, you know, in the event of an emergency, those residents are able to get out in a quickly and safe manner. And so it's not always a fun interaction when you have to deal with Katie and Sarah, but they're doing it for the good of the community. And Brookings is a very nice and clean community, but that doesn't happen because everybody wants to do it themselves. Some residents need a little initiative, and these two do a fabulous job of making sure that you know, our community presents the look and feel that we notice it on a daily basis. So thank you, and congratulations.
I'll just take a quick moment to say thank you to these two code enforcement officers. You know, a lot of times I hear throughout the community that the things that make Brookings so special is that how beautiful and safe we feel here in this community. Within our vision mission statement, we note that what we do is bigger than us, and what these folks do is provide and ensure that we have a beautiful community, that the students that come in every year from SDSU, people that are living in rentals, are safe. They ensure that we have a beautiful community, and that the issues that need addressed are being addressed. And it's a thankless job, but I thank you for your service and commitment to the organization, to the community. So thank you.
All right. And then SDSU Student Association, Erica Van Nieuwenhuis will bring us the latest.
Good evening. Van Nieuwenhuis, and I am the Government Affairs Chair for the SDSU Students. Last week we had our Senate meeting on Monday night. Resolution 22-3-R, and that was talking about our disappointment with corporate Sodexo. I do have good news that passed, and we have seen some good things come out of that. They are reimbursing students who have meal plans with a little bit more money on there, as prices are super high right now. So reimbursing students with meal plan dollars. And then another resolution, 22-4-R, and that talked about fictitious IDs. We had 50 fictitious IDs intercepted that were on their way to Brookings. And we also heard from Officer Scott Roberts with the University Police Department, who gave an update on that story, and then also a little presentation about the consequences of owning a fictitious ID. And then resolution 22-5-R, and that was recognizing October as LGBTQ plus History Month on campus. We also passed our budget philosophy for the fiscal year of 2023. And then this past weekend, we had our fourth student tailgating, and that was hosted by University Program Council. They saw a huge uptick of students. Over 1,000 students participated in that student tailgating, so that was really good to see. And then we had no meeting yesterday for the holiday. And then, as I stated earlier, we met today, Student Promotion Fund. We reviewed the Hobo Day Committee application and voted to give them their whole $21,000 request for Hobo Day. And with that, I will stand by for questions.
Thanks, Erica. Any questions? Thank you very much. Item 8, contracts and change orders. Item 8A, action on resolution 22-084. A resolution authorizing change order number 1 for 2021-02 STA 15th Street South and 7th Avenue South construction project. Bose Construction Incorporated. Charlie Richter, our city engineer, will review this item.
In front of you tonight requesting approval of Resolution 22-84 for 7th Avenue South construction project. The original contract with Bose Construction was for $2,628,516. The change order tonight is for $70,285, which is a 2.7% increase to the original contract. The change order includes work for additional drain tile, gravel, storm sewer work on Remington Circle, and other related work related to the construction project. Staff recommends approval for this change order.
Thanks, Charlie. Entertain a motion to approve.
So move.
Second.
Any public comment on this item? Close public comment. Is there any questions from council? Comments? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Duran,
Aye.
Niemeyer,
Aye.
Specker,
Aye.
Tiltonburn,
Aye.
Avery,
Aye.
Collins.
Aye.
Motion passes. Item 9, ordinances, first readings. Item 9A, introduction and first reading on ordinance 22-033, an ordinance pertaining to vehicle parking spaces for electric vehicles in the city of Brookings, South Dakota. Paul Brusino, our city manager, reviewed this item.
Thank you, Mayor, City Council members. Units in public spaces throughout the community. The ordinance presented tonight allows the city manager to assign electric areas. The city agreed as designating charging spots with the recent agreement for the fast charging and slow charging unit at the activity center. If approved by City Council, staff would market and educate to the community of these designated spots at the activity center. Proper signage will ensure the spaces are clearly marked, and staff does recommend approval of this ordinance.
Public. Seeing none, does the council have any questions or comments at this time? All right, our second reading will be October 25th, the next stated business meeting. Item 9B, introduction and first reading of ordinance 22-034, an ordinance authorizing budget amendment number 9 to the 2022 budget. Paul Brusino, our city manager, will review this item.
Thanks, Mayor. City Council. Tonight is broken down into two main segments. First request is a one-time compensation supplement for all full-time employees to our seniors by taking a part-time city position to a full-time coordinator position for the seniors center. In the spring of 2021, the city set salary increases for 2022 for all employees. In 2022, all employees have the ability to attain up to 4% merit. No COLA was offered in 2022. Staff during the time of budgeting couldn't predict the historical increase in inflation in 2022 as early in 2021 when we were doing the budget. Many peer cities in the state and county entities have given a 6% increase, and we have seen in 2022 at some mid-level increases as well. However, to stay competitive yet ensure sustainable future, administration is recommending a one-time retention compensation supplement for all full-time employees. With an increase of sales tax of 15%, the recommendation is sustainable as it will not increase future budgets, much like a merit or COLA that we're seeing some other entities given. If approved, the total impact of the budget will be $109,000. The approval will grant some financial relief for employees who are committed to the organization and the community. The second amendment, as I mentioned, commits funds from the 3B and other sources to take a part-time position that we have allocated and budgeted that's not currently filled to a full-time position. The administration is recommending an increased commitment in the activity center, with primary services being senior programming. The senior committee is in full support of this recommendation, and we've visited with them here just a month ago on the proposal that's before you today. The full-time staff opening would be advertised and coordinator as a coordinator and part of the Parks Department. Staff recommends both approvals of these amendments as presented tonight.
All right, thanks, Paul. Is there any public comment on this item? Council have any questions or comments? So we'll take second reading on October 25th meeting on this item also. Public hearings and second readings. Item 10A, public hearing and action on temporary alcohol application from SDSU Foundation / Sodexo to operate within the city of Brookings, South Dakota for SDSU alumni activities on October 27th, 28th, 29th of 2022. Bonnie Foster, our city clerk, will review this item.
Mayor, council members, and members of the public, SDSU Foundation, in partnership with Sodexo, which is the alcohol license provider at SDSU, has applied for a temporary alcohol license for SDSU alumni activities on those dates, October 27th, 8th, and 9th, in conjunction with Hobo Days. All events will be held at the SDSU Alumni Center located at 815 Madera Avenue. All required documentation has been provided and reviewed, and staff recommends approval.
Thanks, Bonnie. Open public hearing on this item. Is there any public comments? Seeing none, public hearing is now closed. Entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Does the council have any questions or comments on this item? Councilmember Tilton Burn.
Since I recuse myself from this item.
Point well taken. Your questions? Please call the roll.
Niemeyer,
Aye.
Specker,
Aye.
Wendell,
Aye.
Avery,
Aye.
Collins,
Aye.
Duran.
Aye.
Motion passes. Item 11, other business. 11A, action on resolution 22-083, a resolution amending the consolidated fee schedule. Ashley Wrench, our senior finance manager, will review this item.
Good evening, Mayor. 22-083, amending the consolidated fee schedule. After analyzing current fees as they relate to the actual cost of service, the department has proposed the following updated fees. First of all, the current city license fee for cats and dogs is $10 if they're altered and $15 if they're unaltered. These rates do not provide enough incentive for owners to alter their pets. In general, unaltered animals have a higher incidence of running away, being more aggressive, and causing unplanned breeding, which can impact the city's animal control services. The new fee would be $5 for altered pets and $25 for unaltered. When dangerous animals are taken into custody, they are frequently in need of being euthanized, and if they have bitten someone, they are required to be tested for rabies by the state. These fees come at a cost of $60 per animal for euthanasia and $65 per animal for rabies testing. These fees will be added to the fee schedule so that they can be passed on to the owners. Finally, the Animal Control Department collects a live trap deposit to check out live traps for use, and the current fee of $100 does not cover the replacement cost of a trap, so this deposit is being raised to $150 to be more in line with the actual replacement cost. Staff recommends approval of this resolution as presented.
So moved.
Second.
For the licensing fee of an animal, how does the timeline of that work? If it, let's got their license in July, does that go until the next July, or does that go until the end of the year?
I believe it would be, it's a calendar year.
It's a calendar year. I'm wondering if it might be worthwhile to, at some point, evaluate whether or not that should be kind of a full 365-day fee rather than just until the end of the year. I envision that if people get a new pet or realize that their pet is not licensed towards the end of the year, they might just wait until January to get their licensing fee. I hope that's not the case, but I'm sure it could be. And so we may be able to incentivize folks to license their pet if it is a true 365-day license.
Please call the roll.
Specker,
Aye.
Tilton Burn,
Aye.
Wendell,
Aye.
Avery,
Aye.
Collins,
Aye.
Duran,
Aye.
Niemeyer.
Okay, so that's pretty much for the business of the evening. We'll talk a little bit about the next upcoming meetings. We do have a study session next week that starts at 5:30. We'll have a presentation on the city scholarship. Keith Malum and Tim Reed will be giving a presentation on that. Some of the remaining outside agency presentations will be given that night, and then we will also have discussion on open forum and public comments. October 25th, obviously we'll have second readings of the two first readings we had tonight. There'll be other business on 2023 union agreements. And first reading on the budget, if everything goes smoothly next week. Any items that council members want to bring up? Council members, Becker.
To put something on the calendar to think about over the next 3 months with the interchange starting to, move along, is doing some sort of overlay district along the interstate. I don't know. It seems like now's a good time before that interchange opens. So I just throw that out there.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions, comments? Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Moved, seconded. All those in favor, say aye.
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 Those opposed, same sign. Meeting adjourned.